we are max long. And so we've taken all of our excess cash and we've been buying Bitcoin from 90,000 all the way down to 74,000. And so we're not buying anything else. All we'll be doing now is waiting for alt season to come around and sort of rejigging in the portfolio to maybe go into some high quality alts. But we are at maximum crypto exposure. I believe that this bull market will now continue, and 74,500 was the low for this particular part of the cycle.
The April plunge of Bitcoin from $90,000 to $74,000 had many investors running for the exits, but the sharpest minds in crypto saw something different: a golden opportunity. While fear dominated headlines, seasoned players were quietly accumulating Bitcoin at what history may soon remember as fire sale prices. This wasn't panic, it was strategy in action. Veteran trader Arthur Hayes captures the moment perfectly. He's all in, having bought Bitcoin aggressively at every dip down to $74,000. His playbook? Maximum exposure now, with plans to pivot selectively to altcoins when the time is right. His conviction is clear. $74,500 marked the bottom, and the bull run has plenty of fuel left. The market's behavior backs this bold stance. Bitcoin's rebound mirrors past cycles where sharp corrections gave way to even stronger rallies. With macroeconomic winds shifting and institutional interest growing, the stage is set for what could be crypto's most dynamic phase yet, when Bitcoin's stability unleashes the altcoin rockets. This is the crypto game at its finest. Volatility isn't just noise, it's the signal. The big moves are being made right now, not when prices are calm. The question isn't whether you see the opportunity, but whether you'll act on it before the next leg up leaves hesitation in the dust. The smart money has placed its bets. Where will you be when the market makes its next move? Let's watch clips from Arthur Hayes' explosive interview to gain more insight. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and enable notifications for additional in-depth content. Thanks for joining us again. Enjoy the video.
I think people have not focused on what he's been saying for the last 12 years. He campaigned in 2016 on the Main Street getting a bad deal, whatever you want to classify that is. His base, people who don't have college education, lost their manufacturing jobs over the past 50 years, and he is their champion in return. Now, whether or not you believe that, doesn't matter. That's the rhetoric. And so he started to trade war with China in 2018, kind of petered off a bit, and then he revamped it in 2024 and 2025 with these tariffs, right? And so at the end of the day, we're realigning the global supply chains and finance and capital. And so America needs to go from a deficit to a neutral country, which basically means China has to reverse those flows. And that's what we're seeing. Now, the speed and the pace and how fast it happens, that's the question. People were a bit surprised with how hard he went at tariffs. But make no mistake, this is just a symptom of the same decoupling disease that's been going on, for many, many years. And it's a bipartisan effort. It's not just Trump. Biden also continued this China bashing and sort of decoupling. So again, it doesn't matter. They'll be what they be. Absolutely. And I think at the end of the day, what people need to understand is that Trump and Besson and globally policymakers cannot handle volatility. They're structurally short volatility. So when you have bond volatility rising as it did in early April after the Trump tariffs, they swung into immediate action. They tempered their, how great they were big are going to go on tariffs. And we saw Bitcoin rally aggressively. Stocks have followed. I think NASDAQ was up on the month, even after all that happened, right? So at the end of the day, we know what the response is. The response is money printing. We know what the triggers. It's bond market volatility. And so next time this happens, and guess what? Trump's going to return back to maximalist position on tariffs to get what he wants from the other allies or even China. And so we're going to have a repeat of what happened in April. But this next time, I don't think Bitcoin trades down with stocks. I think Bitcoin just says, oh, okay, well, I know that they're going to have to print more money because this divorce is going to be very expensive. So I'm just going to keep rallying. And I don't care if NASDAQ's down 10 and 20%. But I think the new narrative is going to be fundamental season. What's fundamental season? It's real users who pay real money for a real service, right? And so there's very few projects that actually do that. And so that's what the projects we're looking for. We're big in Pendle, best sort of fixed income trading platform, is profitable as a protocol. I've been obviously very vocal about EtherFi. They just launched their EtherFi cash card. They're going to bring millions of people into the crypto ecosystem by allowing them to spend stables, borrow against their staked ETH, using the Visa network. And they're going to build a new neobank. Again, customers, cash flow, profit goes to token holders. These are the types of things that we're looking for. If your token is some high FTV, low float thing that we're now 95% in the last, 2023, 2024, and you have no traction, you're not getting levitated. There'll be a new narrative that people are going to ape into, and it's not going to be that. We're going to have to return to like actual cash flows, and there's probably less than 50 projects that actually have real cash flows. So, but this is public knowledge. Maelstrom participated in the UPXI offering. They are now buying Solana as a sort of a treasury function. So, we are long that stock. So we're participating in this. This is essentially just TradFi financial engineering games, right? There's a particular set of investors who, for whatever reason, cannot or will not buy underlying coin. They can only buy listed equities. And so there are some financial engineers who said, okay, well, I have this buyer who wants crypto but can't buy crypto. So I'm going to put it in a wrapper that they can understand. And then you have these products trading at premiums. But if you can buy Solana, Bitcoin, ETH in the real markets, why would you trade these products? It doesn't make any sense. But that's the trade that we're betting on. Will this get out of hand? There's too much leverage. I don't know, but when the music's playing, I'm going to dance. No, because I can buy Bitcoin. If you couldn't buy Bitcoin, then you have the Bitcoin ETF. You're basically trading the premium or discount of this thing. It's a little bit more complicated than just like buying Bitcoin. I'm not exactly sure that's suitable for a lot of people, but again, depending on what your fiduciary restrictions are, that might be all you can have. And that's what Michael Saylor is betting on. It's like there's this group of people that've got a lot of money, but because of dumb rules, they can only buy one thing. So he's going to satisfy them. We're onwards and upwards. I think that when governments buy things, they buy things for political reasons. And so if you get really excited when they're buying it, then you get really scared when they're selling it. And they're going to go both ways. And so I think that we shouldn't really get too enthusiastic about this. It's an open protocol. If they want to buy it, great. That's what it's there for. Do I really think we should be lobbying as expending political capital to buy Bitcoin? No, but spend political capital to make sure that there's freedom of information, that, people can code without fear of going to jail or retribution. That's what I think we should spend our energy on, not whether or not XYZ government is going to buy Bitcoin with their sovereign funds.
For 12 years, the writing has been on the wall. Since his 2016 campaign, Trump has championed America's working class, those left behind by globalization, with one consistent message. Main Street got a raw deal, and his weapon of choice is tariffs. What began as skirmishes with China in 2018 has escalated into a full-scale economic realignment in 2024, with seismic implications for markets. Here's what most miss. This isn't just Trump, it's a bipartisan decoupling from China, a financial divorce decades in the making, and the bill for this separation? Monetary inflation. When Trump's April tariffs sparked bond market chaos, the response was predictable. Policymakers, structurally short volatility, softened their rhetoric, and liquidity came flooding back. Bitcoin surged, and the Nasdaq recovered. Arthur Hayes, ever the strategist, sees the endgame. His fund went max long Bitcoin from $90,000 down to $74,000, betting the cycle low is in. Why? Because geopolitical friction always ends with currency debasement. Next time tariffs spike, he predicts Bitcoin will decouple from stocks entirely, rallying solo as the world grasps the cost of deglobalization. While Arthur Hayes is all in on Bitcoin, his prediction of an altcoin season aligns with Dan Tapiero's bullish take on XRP. The controversial token has survived every attack, yet remains a top 10 crypto. Now, with political tailwinds and ETF speculation growing, XRP could be one of the biggest altcoin plays of this cycle. Is this finally XRP's moment? Let's watch more clips from the interview.
Any Bitcoin, certainly Bitcoin actually, any Bitcoin or ETH or Solana focused person. I mean, as you know, the space can, carve itself off into its little groups. And the XRP army has been a thing for quite a few years. And I think there are quite a few people out there who are not part of that army who sort of don't believe in, XRP, mostly because it's centralized. And I think people have problems with the way that it was distributed over the years. But I would say, the one very impressive thing about XRP is just how long it's lasted, how many times it's come under attack. Do you remember, was it last year or 2 years ago, Gensler banned, he basically attacked them and then they got taken off all of the exchanges? They were actually pulled off, XRP was pulled off the exchanges. I think it stayed on Kraken. It's one of my portfolio companies. And maybe Uphold as well. I can't remember if it was one or two. But And then they bounced back. And I think that Ripple, it's this Lindy effect. The longer it seems to exist, the more sort of strength it gathers, the greater the network effect is. And so I think it's pretty impressive. I mean, the first trades I did in cryptocurrency in 2012 were in Bitcoin and in Ripple at the time, through Uphold. At the time it was called BitReserve. So I understand people have different opinions about the fact that it's not decentralized. And I think people also question whether, how much is it really used in payments? And I would argue, and I think, and again, I haven't done enough work on this, and I am by no means a big XRP guy, but I do respect it for its ability to survive. And I think what it's turned itself into, the company, Ripple, has turned itself into, in a way, a holding company, a conglomerate of assets within the digital asset ecosystem. So I think there's value there, and I think there probably are quite a few people anticipating the XRP ETF, lasting also because it's made in America now, right? That's another thing we know with this administration. If it's made in America. So I think, and you have to, take your hat off to Brad Garlinghouse for having gotten involved with Trump and still very involved, and I think has done a lot of hard work for the space itself, doing battle with the previous SEC administration. He's been a pretty strong advocate for the space itself overall.
What made you interested in XRP all those years ago?
Well, it wasn't anything more than it was just that was what was available, and it was super duper liquid. My gold company that I'd founded called GBI, Gold Bullion International, we were the first place in the world where you could buy or sell gold to buy or sell Bitcoin or Ripple, and it was done on the BitReserve platform, which today is Uphold, the Uphold wallet. In fact, you can still buy gold to sell Ripple or the opposite on Uphold, and it's still my company that's behind that. So it was extremely liquid, and I remember having a lot of fun with not a lot of money, just driving the price in the liquid markets up. It was trading at 1/10 of 1 cent. So getting it to 2/10 of 1 cent. I mean, today it's $2, right? So it was I don't know. It was liquid, and it had the interface was actually really nice. You could see all of the amounts of Ripple that were offered, and you could just buy pretty much as much as you wanted at that time. I mean, it was so it was more of an experimental thing at the time. Yeah, I wasn't thinking long-term hold. I'm going to make 1,000x. No.
Yeah.
There was no XRP army. I would just say the motto for me, at least the one that I tell my analysts, is it's never too late to do the right thing, which means just because you didn't buy it at 1/10 1 cent doesn't mean you couldn't buy it at 1 cent or 2 cents or 10 cents. Meaning, if you believe in something, never give up on it. I wasn't sure I really understood Ripple, so it wasn't so much that I could believe in it in a way, right? It was hard for me to understand how it worked, and the dynamic and the balance sheet was a little opaque, but yes. So we digress a little bit.
In the wild world of cryptocurrency, few assets spark as much heated debate as XRP. This digital currency has become crypto's ultimate survivor, weathering regulatory storms, exchange delistings, and endless criticism to remain a top 10 cryptocurrency after more than a decade. While Bitcoin maximalists dismiss it and Ethereum fans ignore it, XRP continues to defy the odds, proving that in crypto, longevity itself can become a competitive advantage. The XRP story is full of contradictions. On one hand, it faces constant criticism for its centralized origins. Ripple Labs initially controlled the entire supply, distributing tokens over time. Many crypto purists argue this goes against decentralization fundamentals. The SEC's high-profile lawsuit alleging XRP was an unregistered security only added fuel to these criticisms. Yet through all these challenges, XRP has demonstrated remarkable resilience. When the SEC lawsuit caused major exchanges to delist it in 2020, the XRP community didn't fold. They fought back harder. This persistence points to what's known as the Lindy effect, the idea that the longer something survives, the longer it's likely to continue surviving. In XRP's case, each crisis overcome has strengthened its position. Ripple has transformed from a simple payments token into a diversified blockchain company with numerous partnerships and use cases. Its cross-border payment solutions, while not yet mainstream, continue gaining traction with financial institutions. Ripple CEO Brad Garlinghouse has cultivated relationships in Washington with the Trump administration. With Made in America becoming a key theme in crypto policy, XRP's U.S. roots could give it an advantage in the coming regulatory landscape. This positioning has led to growing speculation about a potential XRP ETF, something that seemed unthinkable just a few years ago. What makes XRP fascinating isn't just its technology or use cases, but what it represents in crypto culture. The passionate XRP army has become one of the most dedicated communities in the space, defending their asset through every challenge. Whether this loyalty is justified is debated endlessly on crypto Twitter, but its impact is undeniable. As we enter what may be crypto's most consequential regulatory phase, XRP stands at a crossroads. Will it finally achieve mainstream adoption as the bank-friendly crypto, or remain a perpetual outsider? One thing is certain, counting out XRP has consistently been a mistake. In an industry where projects come and go weekly, XRP's decade-plus survival is itself a remarkable achievement that demands attention from even its harshest critics. The XRP story teaches us that in crypto, technical purity isn't the only path to success. Sometimes, stubborn persistence, political savvy, and community strength can be just as powerful. Whether you love it or hate it, XRP isn't going anywhere, and that alone makes it one of the most fascinating assets to watch in this cycle. As we wrap up, with Bitcoin at max long, which altcoins are you betting on for the coming rotation? Let us know your thoughts in the comments below. Share this video and hit the like button. Thanks for watching, and don't forget to subscribe.